All right, how's everybody doing? I don't know if you guys have been following our community posts on here, but I'm doing a little experiment. A guy on YouTube found some weird thing with like the community tab and posting like posts. We'll see. Um, I'm interested to see what's going on with with this bug in the system. Apparently, if the YouTube like community tab can be exploited, and he's like, well, the only way to show them that they need to fix this is for everybody to exploit it. So I was like, well, I'll see what happens. Um, I don't know if it's actually true or not, or if it's complete BS, but I guess we'll see. So he has like an example poll with a bunch of keywords and stuff, and I copied and pasted it. So if you guys see that, check it out. I also am starting to use the poll a little bit, or the community tab a little bit more on here. I just wish that they had a way um, to like automate the actual process of posting to there, because like I can hook into other stuff. So yes, let me pull up my system here and turn the giveaway on. I do have the Daedalus hooked up and running. Hopefully, knock on wood, we don't get any power outages, because I ran out of battery backups and they won't be here for a couple of days. But I am printing. I posted a picture of the first layer. Does anybody know what I'm printing on there right now? It's actually in the community tab of the YouTube channel here. Does anybody know? I'm actually running I don't know if you guys see how big that spool is on right here. That's a 5-pound roll of the pink PLA from Coex. So let me turn the giveaway form on, because we are still doing that. It looks like we're going to be pulling the winners on Friday is going to be the best bet, because I do have a ton of stuff going on tonight. So I don't think we'll be able to do another stream later tonight. So what I think we'll do is we'll do a stream on Friday and then pull the winners there, because we want to do a giveaway every month, and use the live streams to kind of tie that in. So like I said, with the giveaways, the form is active now. You can just go to giveaway.th3dstudio.com, and that will take you to the form to put your entries in. You can enter once per stream. So if you enter more than one time on a stream, I will disqualify you, because that's just going to create more work for me. But you can enter one time per stream. So let's say I do one today and we do one on Monday. It'll be live during that stream. So one entry per stream, just to keep it simple. And this one is an Ender 3 V2, and we are covering shipping to the US and Canada. So like I said before, because I don't want to deal with shipping a printer internationally outside of the North America here, if you want to send it to a friend or someone that you know in the US or Canada, if you do win, and you're not in the US or Canada, that's fine with me. Just coordinate with your friend and give us your friend's address, and we'll send it there. So anyways, that again is giveaway.th3dstudio.com. And I'm not going to publicize that we're doing giveaways throughout the month like this, because I want to reward the people that actually come here and want to actually see what we have to say and what we're doing, that kind of stuff. So I don't want to use it as a marketing ploy to get more people on the videos. I want to reward the people that are just naturally coming here. So those of you guys that are new here, welcome. Those of you guys that are repeat people, I don't know why you keep coming back, but anyways, welcome back to you guys too as well. So these streams are a way for you guys to interact with me directly, get your questions answered about your printers, that kind of stuff. I do have, because people keep asking me, please stop emailing us asking for help with your Duet stuff, because I don't even know at this point. I'm very new to this stuff. The Daedalus is running a Duet, so there's a learning curve for me to actually get up and running. But to become more familiar with the Duet products, I do have their 5-inch touchscreen here, and Joe from Project R3D, who I bought the Daedalus from, he actually gave me an old Duet 2 Wi-Fi so I can get familiar. So I've got the screen here, and what I'm going to be doing is documenting the type of settings and connections to hook an easy ABL up to this, because some people are just not grasping like what Duet's documentation is. And I'll be honest, as someone that's familiar with firmware like Marlin, where you're dealing with configuration lines and recompiling the firmware, Duet basically configures all of its stuff for its board through G-code commands. So you have to be familiar with those G-code commands and the options that go along with them in order to set it up. So I can see why it's a little daunting for some people. So I will be putting this LCD and board into my CR10, which is currently down. The stepper dampener is sheared off on there, so that machine's down, and it's got an old MKS Gen L in here. So we're going to be putting this board, which is a Duet 2 Wi-Fi, and the 5-inch panel do screen on here, and then I'm going to be documenting where we connect everything for the Easy ABL. For those of you guys that are a little more savvy and can make sense of this, it's really simple. In terms of connections, we're just going to go off of one of the I/O pins and a ground, and you connect that to the ZN-stop side of the Easy ABL control board, and then you just tell the Duet firmware that, okay, it's on this pin, and you'll probably need to invert the logic because we are using a normally open logic on the Easy ABL board. So, but I am working on this. I actually had to make a cable because Joe did not give me the 4-pin cable. And this does have a 10-pin cable, but I don't care about using the SD slot, so I just made my own 4-pin cable. So that is stuff that's in the works here. I also have, I printed out a bracket here for the board so I can mount this on the CR10. And yeah, so there will be a documentation page, kind of what we do with like the vanilla Marlin for the Easy ABL, where it's like, these are the configuration lines we recommend you set. These are the speeds, that kind of stuff. So we'll have the same thing for the Duet boards at some point. I'll probably have this done in the next week or two. I just have to physically install this onto a printer, so that takes a little more time. So anyways, let's jump into today's Q&A. Let me pull up and pop out the live chat in case I need to send any messages to anybody here. And let's see what we have for questions today. All right. Let me see. Do I have all of the questions? So YouTube is only showing me live chat up to a certain point. Let me see here. Because I see there was some chatter before I pulled this up. I basically can see right when I said YouTube keeps telling us stream is bad. So if you guys typed anything before that, I'm not going to see that. Because I kept trying to go live, and the go live button would appear, and then it would disappear, and it would say my audio bit rate was messed up, and then it would reappear and disappear, and finally it just sorted itself out. I was able to click it, and now apparently we're live, so we should be good. Yay, YouTube. Let's see here. Where are the questions? I'm surprised there's not that many questions here yet. Come on, guys. I'm not going to have much to talk about if I don't have any questions. I do want to say, guys, stop asking about the EasyBoard Pro. When we have something ready to go, we will post it out. I can tell you right now, we're a couple months out, if not more, on that. I still have to do testing. I'm not going to put together a board and not test it before selling it to people. If you guys want products that are just shoved out really quick, then Big Tree Tech's really good at that. But I prefer to test our stuff for many months before we actually sell it. So we're still adding on things to that board, trying to figure out what kind of add-ons we can do and different features. So I don't have an ETA. I can tell you it's going to be at least 4 to 5, if not 6 months. And that is not even accounting for potential delays on the manufacturing side, which we're still dealing with like a lot of other companies. So, no, we're not giving away a Daedalus. That's my Daedalus. I pay good money for that thing. I'm really liking it though. I'm just trying to get over the learning curve of learning the Duet system, because I've been 100% Marlin for years here, and it's definitely a completely different animal. So, let's see here. 3D Makers Hub, how do you counteract the glare on your glasses when streaming? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it might be the coating on my lenses. They are like fancy coatings, because I know an eye doctor, and they always I always get the upgraded ones, so maybe that's it. The camera's right in front of me, and I actually have a light shining right at my face, so I'm surprised I don't have glare. Zachary's asking when the Easy boards will be back in stock. That I can give you a rough estimate on. As far as I know, we had our next batch shipping to us yesterday. I'm just waiting on the tracking number from the supplier. So hopefully in the next week, we should have more of them. And we do have one more batch going as well, just to keep production moving. But like I said, the problems we were having were staff delays on the assembler side because of COVID. And then, I said the word, I'm going to get demonetized now. The human malware situation. Lack of staff on the assembler side, so they're not able to do as much as fast. And then actual delays on the parts that go on the board. Those are getting delayed. I think somebody said in the chat, I saw some chatter about, oh yeah, here I can see, I actually refreshed. Now I see comments from Dan Adams. He's actually off work today because it looks like he works for a company that supplies stuff for Ford and Nissan, and he said they're cutting vehicle production due to shortage of semiconductors. Yeah, so we're even dealing with that, trying to get our stuff run. Everybody stop asking about Voron printers. My response to that, everybody keeps asking them. Vorons are only good if you have nothing but time and money to throw at a project that's going to take you a lot of time to do. I don't like their design, and yeah, that's why I have not built one. So anybody going forward, I'm not answering any questions about Vorons. Let's see here. I'm scrolling down. Are you already doing firmware for the CR30? No, I don't think we're going to do firmware for the CR30 because the way they have it set up is not what I would do in terms of like the end stops. So, and that's not really a machine that you're really going to need all the extra features that we put in our firmware on because of the nature of it. So no, I'm not planning on doing a CR30 firmware. I could, but I don't see the point of it. Aside from carrying like replacement parts for it, like, the extruders, motors, fans, that kind of stuff, I don't foresee us doing too much with that machine just because it's such a different animal and there's not really a ton of mods you can do for it that we would be able to like carry stuff for. So like we already have power supplies that fit that, which are the 350 watt 24 volts. So I will be creating a separate product category on our site for the CR30 once I verified what we have fits that machine, like fans, that kind of stuff, fans, power supplies, that kind of things. But yeah, there's really not too much upgradability on that machine in the same sense that you're used to on other Cartesian machines because you're dealing with that 45-degree angle. You can't really do bed leveling on it because it's just that one portion. So we'll see. Aaron's playing with it now. He has it out in the print farm and he says he's printing something that takes advantage of the style of printer. So I'm assuming he's printing something long and fun. So we'll see what happens. Let's see what other questions we have going down here. Matt is upgrading his FlashForge Creator Pro and he can't decide on extruders. He's torn between the Hemera and the Copperhead / Mosquito. I haven't used the Copperhead or the Mosquito. I know people like the Mosquitoes. I know the Copperhead is a cost-cut version of the Mosquito. It really depends on what you're wanting to do. The Hemera is more of a direct drive setup, whereas the Copperhead and the Mosquito, you can run direct drive or Bowden. So it really depends on what kind of setup you're wanting to do. I believe the Creator Pro is a dual color machine, so I don't know if you're also keeping it, or dual head machine, so I don't know if you're keeping it dual head or not. If you were going dual head or keeping the dual head, I'm not very familiar with the FlashForges. They're kind of very limited in what you can do to them in terms of like hardware upgrades without doing a ton of work, which I'm sure you're about to find out. I believe those are the dual head ones, but if I was going dual head, I'd probably go Bowden just so you can get the hot ends as close together as possible. So Matt's saying to be a single extruder, focus on high temp materials. I would honestly probably just do if you're going high temp, I'd probably go with like the Copperhead and Mosquito because those are more geared towards that. But it's really your machine. I would probably go Bowden on there if you're not going to be doing flex, just because then you get all that weight off the carriage. Andre is asking, can I get just the X bracket for the Ender 3 dual Z kit? I have a lead screw and motor and want to go that way. Unfortunately, we don't sell those parts separately. Your best bet would be to try to find a printed part that's the same. I think I've seen some brackets on Thingiverse that you can print, but we do not sell the individual parts. You have to buy it as a full kit. Let's see here. Okay, there's just people talking in the chat here. Come on, Tim, put it on Kickstarter. I don't know what you're talking about. Put what on Kickstarter? I'm not giving away my puppy. I already answered the question about the easy boards. Damn it, you guys in your cube. I need to set up an automation with Home Assistant where if it detects that I go live on YouTube, that it sends a call to just turn the cube on. That way I can stop having people ask about the cube. But there we go. Let's go back here. Artifact 3D, yeah. Artifact 3D is asking about a 3D printed WS2812B LED strips. Make sense or absolute junk? 3 colors for status of the printer. Marlin actually supports status LEDs in their code already. I actually have my my AL4 that's all upgraded. I actually put 3 NeoPixels on the hot end and connect those up to an I/O pin, and then I'm using Marlin's built-in integration, so it goes through and cycles colors based on the heating. It's kind of cool. I don't really find it beneficial, but yeah, you can do it. It's neat. So, let's see. AP says, hey, Tim, hope all is well. Wonder if the EasyBoard plays nicely with 0.9 degree stepper motors. Looking at models below the 22.8 limits, probably 1.0 amps. Yeah, you can absolutely do that. The processor will handle the higher step rate, no issue. You'll just have to change your steps per millimeter on whatever axis that you're going to be doing. We do have that DIY firmware too, so you can set it whatever step per millimeter you want. Because if you're going from a 1.8 degree to a 0.9 degree, you're going to double your steps per millimeter on whatever axis you put that motor on. I would say though, do know that motors that are 0.9 degree are typically louder. Like this Daedalus is actually not that quiet, even though it has Trinamics. I can hear the motors quite loudly, almost as loud as a 4988. So, but the noise doesn't really bother me, to be honest. But yeah, you can definitely run a 0.9 degree stepper motor on EasyBoard. You can run a 0.9 degree stepper motor on pretty much any board. The only concern is when you start getting to really high steps per millimeters, some of the older 8-bit boards can bog down if you start really pushing the machine, because you're doubling the steps per millimeter. So that's twice the work the printer CPU has to do when it's doing moves and other calculations. So do be in mind of that. But when you start getting into the 32-bit boards like the EasyBoard or even Creality's 32-bit boards, those kind of ones, they'll be able to handle that step rate no problem. Another thing to note too is that sometimes the 0.9 degree stepper motors don't have as much torque as a 1.8 degree, so you might need to have to run a higher VREF, which are the amps going to the motor to compensate for that. And things like your Z aren't really going to benefit from the higher step rate because you're already at such a high resolution. I don't notice too much of a difference between the 0.9 degree and 1.8 degrees. Like if I had a printer and just swapped the motors out and ran the same print with the 0.9s and the 1.8s and put them side by side, I'd be willing to bet a lot of money that no one could tell the difference between the two. So, but I do know from what research I've been doing, because I was asking Joe about it, because the Daedalus uses all 0.9 degree stepper motors. The Core XYs do seem to like those a little bit better. They do give you a little bit better motion, but like your standard Cartesian machines, it's not going to be like, oh my God, I swapped them out. My print quality is amazing. You're probably not going to notice a difference. It's one of the reasons I don't sell 0.9 degree stepper motors as upgrades for printers, because I kind of feel like it's snake oil. Because in theory, you increase your resolution, but in practice, you're probably not going to notice it. So I don't want to sell stuff promising that, it's an upgrade because you're getting theoretically more resolution because you're doubling your steps per millimeter. But in terms of an actual end result, you're not going to notice it. And I don't like selling stuff like that basically takes advantage of people, and while technically correct, you're not going to see that big of a difference. So let's see here. Moving on. Travis Barnes, or Travis, I'm just going to call you Travis. Bartnes? Is that how you say your last name? I have one of the original CR10S's. I did an upgrade to a Mimo, a few other things, but I'm looking at the EasyBoard Lite. What's the main advantage? I think the main advantage that people like is that the stepper motors are quiet because we are using the Trinamic drivers on there. In terms of when it comes to firmware, we're one of the only boards on the market that has a web compiler for the firmware, so you're not having to mess with VS Code. VS Code can be cumbersome, and there's a lot of issues I've seen where people's local computers are preventing them from using VS Code correctly and it fails to compile. You don't have to worry about any of that with our board. You just go to easyfirmware.th3dstudio.com and it just compiles it for you. You don't have to worry about compiling anything. It does it all on our server side and then spits out the file for you. But if you do want to compile locally, we do have source code available for compiling locally. But the main thing is that you'll be able to play with some newer Marlin features that are not going to be available or work at higher speed rates, or feed rates, I should say, on the 8-bit boards. But the main thing people like about it is that it is quiet because it does have the Trinamic 2208s on there, which do silence the printer a lot. And then the best thing is, too, if you do have a question, we do have an actual support team that if you have a question on, am I hooking this up right, or could you clarify this, we have people that will actually get back to you within a reasonable amount of time. It's usually less than a day, depending on our ticket load, for us to get back. So we do actually support our products directly. It's not going to be like where you contact Big Tree Tech and you wait a week to get a reply that doesn't make any sense. So Coffeeology is asking if there are any alternatives to Capricorn tuning. Any alternatives to Capricorn tubing. Mine always seem too small. My filament gets clogged up. Yeah, that's a common issue I've seen with them, and have had happen with machines that came with Capricorn. Like our CR10S Pro had a spot in the cap tube where it got too small. We carry our own alternative to Capricorn. It's called the Tough Tube. It's not only cheaper, but I can't remember last time we've had somebody say that they've had issues with it being too small or out of spec. The supplier we use for that tubing is really good. It's all the same benefits of Capricorn. It's a little bit cheaper per meter than Capricorn, and my opinion, I like the color too better. Ours is a brighter color blue than the dingy blue. So, but yeah, we have our TH3D Tough Tube. I use it on all of my machines, even ones that I don't need the temp resistance, because I like the tighter diameter. So ours is 1.9 millimeter internal diameter, and the tolerances are 0.05 millimeters plus or minus. So meaning the smallest it could be is 1.85, the biggest it could be is 1.95. We do spot check them as we're cutting through the rolls, just taking measurements, and every time we've measured, it's between 1.88 and 1.91. We haven't seen it outside of that range, so the tolerances are really good. So, and the hole that the filament goes through is centered on our tubing. And that's another issue I've seen a lot with the cheaper tubes and even the Capricorn tubes, where the hole itself is off center. And the reason that's a problem is when you're using it going into the hot end, if that hole is not centered, your filament path is not going to properly feed into the nozzle because that hole is off center. That hole needs to be centered in the middle of the tubing. So these are all stuff we check when we're going through the tubing and processing the inventory. Is the diameter and is the hole center? We check this all the time as we're going through all the rolls. And we go through thousands of meters of that tubing. So let's see here. Einman is saying, do you know what's the problem when printing in vase mode? The CR6 SE and the Enter 6 starts screwing up. USB is no problem. Is this a firmware problem by printing over the SD card? I would probably say it might be your SD card itself that is defective. Anytime I have issues where, and I don't print from SD often or really at all my printers are network connected here, highly recommend Octoprint. If you haven't seen it, you can DIY your own setup. There's directions on octoprint.org. If you want to be super lazy and get something that just works and not have to figure out how to flash everything and build everything, we do have fully assembled Pi kits, and those we stock regularly. You basically get this kit. It has, I actually have one right here. This is one I use for the product photos. We do have a plastic casing available now. People were asking about a plastic version. because this does allow the Wi-Fi signal to get out a little easier than the aluminum case one. But it's a full kit. It comes with a USB-C power adapter, so you just plug that in. It's got a little power switch. But basically, you can plug this into your network via hardwire or Wi-Fi. You plug your printer into this, and then this talks to your printer over the network. So you can send your G-code from your computer, so you slice it up on your computer, send your G-code here, and then this streams the G-code over USB from your print from here to your printer. And even if your computer's shut down, this still keeps running, so you don't have to worry about, oh no, my computer went to sleep and it stopped my print. This is always on, and it's accessible on the network. And there's plugins and stuff. You can plug a USB camera into here too, which we also carry, so you can monitor your prints remotely. There's a couple of other plugins that allow you to access this outside of your network. So if you're like outside the house, you can do that without port forwarding. I do not recommend you do port forwarding to a Pi. You don't want to expose this directly, but there's a plugin, I believe it's called Octoprint Anywhere, or they rebranded it. It's Octoprint Anywhere, the Spaghetti Detective or something like that. And they have a free plan that you put the plugin on here, and then you can access it outside the network. And they have like other premium ones that have other features. But anyways, it allows you to access your printer outside of your house with no port forwarding. Now, out of the box, you can access these anywhere on your network. So if, like, you know, my printer's here in this room and I go in the house, I can pull up on my phone and see how the print's going anywhere in my house, on my laptop, my desktop, my phone, my tablet, etc. So if you guys haven't heard about these, highly recommend do it. You can buy a fully built kit from us, and we donate a portion of every single kit sales to the Octoprint project. It's an open source project. We don't have to do that, but I want to support them. So we send them over $600 a month on average to help support the project. So every time we sell one of these, they get a cut of the sales. And we're actually listed on their site. But you can also build one yourself. You just have to get a Raspberry Pi, get a good quality SD card, a good quality power adapter. You can buy a case or print a case and then flash the SD card and get that all assembled, and then you have to set it up. Whereas this is all pre-assembled. We power these all on, make sure they come up, make sure the network connections work. And better yet, if you have Wi-Fi and you want to use it on Wi-Fi, if you send your Wi-Fi name and password in on your order, we will pre-configure it. We'll literally pull the card out of here, put this in, pre-configure it with your information. So when you get this, you plug it in and it just shows up on your network. So yeah, anyways, let's see here. But yeah, to answer, I just totally went off on a tangent there, but yeah, my whole thing is whenever I would have an issue with an SD print, when I did use them, I would print over USB, because if it prints over USB, that means it's probably an issue with the SD card and you should replace the SD card. My point of bringing this up is if you get one of these and you use this for your printer, you no longer have to use SD cards. There is a slicer built into the Octoprint system. I don't use it. I do all my slicing on my computer, but that is even there if you want to slice in a pinch. It basically uses Cura. So, but I use these in the manner of they go on the network. I control my printer. I slice my code on my computer and then send it over the network. And then this handles talking to the actual printer instead of my computer or having to deal with SD cards. So it's a really good convenience thing. We have over 60 Raspberry Pis on our network right now because they're all hooked up to printers. So let's see here. I am just looking through here. Alan's asking about EasyFlex 2 that provides full coverage for a Daedalus or Railcore build plate, 340 by 325. I thought it was 335 by 325, but I could be wrong. You might be right. I did put an EasyFlex on my Daedalus. The 310 by 320 covers the entire print area. Here, I'll take a picture really quick so I can share it to show you because I don't have a camera readily available that reaches over there. But I was talking to Joe from Project R3D about getting the bed. He's supposed to send me the bed cut file so I can then design a plate to fit it perfectly and also a magnet. But the 310 by 320 is what I'm using, and it actually covers it really well. I'm pretty happy with it. Let me let me pull this up here through my camera upload. Yeah, it's already coming through. All right, let's see here. So if you do want one that does fit, it just doesn't cover the whole physical bed. It covers the whole print area. The 310 by 320 is what I'm using on here. And you see here, I actually marked on the front here. I moved the X to the X0, Y0 position here, and then all the way over to the 310 position. And I put a little mark on here, so I knew I had to line the plate up between these 2 points. And so this actually fits perfectly on here because you don't print on this side. A lot of people think that you have to cover the whole physical bed to use a flex plate or whatever. You don't. You don't actually have to do that. You just cover your print area, and that's what I did here. So, come on, Nextcloud. It's supposed to be syncing. I took a couple of pictures, but it's just taking its sweet time for some reason. Because I wanted to show you guys. I took a top-down one. And it's... Oh, there it goes. It's finally going. Hang on. Bear with me 1 second. It's uploading, and they should show up in my thing here in just a second. There it goes. It's syncing them. There we go. Here's the other view. So this is what it looks like top down. So you don't print on any of this area here. So this is the 310 by 320. And this covers the whole print area on this Daedalus machine, which this Daedalus uses the same exact print area, or same exact printer bed as the Railcore. So you just line it up on your print area, stick it down. I used a magnetic pad under there, and called it a day. So this came with PEI on it. I pulled the PEI off, and I'm just using it like that. So, but does anybody know what I'm printing right now on this? Does anybody have any idea? You saw the previews. What am I printing right now? I am printing with some coax. I had a 5-pound roll of their pink PLA here, so I threw that on there, and we're running that. This is actually printing pretty quick. I'm doing it at 0.3 layer height as well. So, but the print is 350% size. Yes, I am printing. I don't know if you guys saw that. There's that Bernie meme where he's sitting on the chair with his mittens like this, and Chaos Cortec made a model. So I was like, I'm printing it. So I scaled it 350%, which puts it almost at 300 millimeters height. And I thought that'd be funny to have just hanging around, just have, maybe I won't print the chair. Maybe I'll just have him like sitting on the edge of the printer in the background here. I just thought it was funny. Printing memes. You know, I'm not commenting on Bernie Sanders, but I appreciate the meme, so I thought it was funny. But yeah. Let's see here. Where are we at on chat? We were talking about the SD issue. Kevin said he's got 2 easy ABLs and two dual Z kits, and his printers are printing some really nice quality now. You go, man. Thanks for the store. No problem. I'm glad that you guys enjoy the products because I really do actually use everything that we sell here. That there's a reason why we don't sell certain things, because the whole way we do products and the whole way we do things here is if we will not use it ourselves, I'm not going to sell it to you. That's why we don't carry certain boards from certain companies, because I just don't think they're that reliable, and they haven't been that reliable. I am testing out some other stuff from other companies right now, but it's too early in the testing phase. But the whole thing is, when we get stuff in and we're thinking about carrying new products, they get used here for an extended period of time in my personal machines and in our print farm to make sure that they actually are up for the task and that they're going to last. So that's how we do things here, which means that we don't carry some stuff that other places have no problem selling. But, you know, I'd rather not compromise those values just to make some more revenue. And I plan on keeping that way as long as I am one of the owners of the company here. So... but let's see. But yeah, Alan, we will be working on a full coverage one. I put this on mine because I once you guys that have them know, once you start using a flex plate system, it's hard to go back. It's hard to go back to using a non-flex printer where you just have a sheet on the bed. It's painful. So that was the first thing I did. If you guys are looking at the Daedalus, if you are in the market for a higher end machine, he does have magnetic bed upgrades where the magnets are embedded, and he does have his own plates. But I don't know if he has them in stock right now. This was a beta unit that he then upgraded to the retail version. And he asked me if I wanted the magnetic one. I was like, no, don't waste it on me. I'll just put my Easy Flex on there because I don't mind. Some people don't like the magnetic sheet. They like the magnets embedded in the bed. I don't see a difference with it, so I have no problem doing the magnet on top of the plate and then magnet on top of the bed and stick my plate on top. No problems there. But yeah, we will be doing one. I have to have the plate design, so we'd probably be about a month out on those because I need to get magnets and the plates. So, and then Aaron's got to cut the plates. So when we actually, I don't know if you guys noticed, when we do new Easy Flex plate designs, we actually cut them out of cardboard here. Once we have the design on our laser cutter out in the shop, and then we physically test fit them to make sure that the file is correctly sized and everything. So we use cardboard as like a template. Cut it out, and then use that to test the fitment onto the actual printer, make sure we're not going to get in the way of anything, and that it covers the full bed. So, because people do like full coverage plates. I do understand that. So, me personally, in a pinch, like I said, I don't have plates for this. I didn't feel like bothering Joe. I just threw one on there that covers my print area, and I call it a day. So, Connie and Dave are asking, what are advantages / disadvantages of a 40 watt versus 50 watt heater cartridge? Well, in my opinion, there's no disadvantages, but the advantage is that you're going to have a quicker heat up time. And in cases where you are printing faster and you need to turn the heat up a little bit to compensate for that higher plastic flow, the 50 watt has a lot more, that little 10 watts in that tiny little block makes a big difference to add extra heat in there and to be able to keep up. One of the other benefits too is if you have a printer where the layer fan is also cooling down the block, that 50 watt heater has a lot easier time overcoming the temperature cool down from the layer fan going past it. There's really no disadvantages to it. That extra 10 watts, any stock board will be able to run the 50 watt heater with no problem. You don't need to put external MOSFETs on just because you're going up 10 watts. It's not too much more of a load, and we've tested it with the Creality boards, MKS boards, SKR boards, the Easy board. It's no problem for any of them. So Max CJ is asking, does Marlin support RGBW addressable LED strips? I know it supports RGB. I don't know if they have RGBW support, but I have used, and I do know they support the RGB ones, which would be like the WS 2812s. They're also known as NeoPixels, or like the name brand. Like, like people say, give me a Kleenex, they mean a tissue. NeoPixel, WS2812, they're basically the same thing. WS2812 is just the chip. NeoPixel is the name brand that I believe Adafruit sells them under. So, Sean says he's using the Wham Bam system with the nanopolymer adhesion. PETG parts keep taking chunks out of the PEX surface. Any suggestion how to prevent that from happening? So the nanopolymer actually acts as a release agent, but here's the problem. And I don't use the Wham Bam stuff for obvious reasons. But in general, if you put down some sort of release agent between the plate and between your print and the surface, if your Z height is too low, what can actually happen is that filament will push that out of the way, and then you're just basically printing directly on the top. So the only thing you should do, which would help, would be increasing your Z height a little bit more and running it a little bit higher than you normally would, so you're not going to push through that coating you put on there. And then also let it cool down. Now, I use PETG with the nanopolymer on our Easy Flex system, which is our PEI coated or the PEI stick-on surface, and I don't have issues with it. I just have to let it cool down first to room temperature. Now, to speed that up, you could stick it in a freezer or a fridge to help it contract and pop off easier, or just let it get back down to room temp. Or if you're in the middle of winter like we are here, just put it outside for a little bit. I would imagine their surface behaves similar to, would be similar to our other surfaces. You basically got to have it contract to release from the plate. So, but anyways, let's see here. Where's the next blah, blah, blah. The next questions here. So we were talking about, there we go. Okay, we're back. YouTube, please fix your chat so it stops stops jumping. Jamie's asking, what video shows exactly how to set up the Raspberry Pi 4 for Octoprint? I'm sure I'm not aware of one off the top of my head. I'm sure there's videos on there, but there's also directions on the Octoprint website. The basic steps are you get an SD card, you use a program like Balena Etcher or Win32 Disk Imager to write the image you downloaded to the SD card. You then take the SD card out of your computer, you put it into the Pi, you power the Pi up, let it boot up. It usually takes about 5 to 10 minutes to do the initial boot up because it's going to resize itself and then do all the initial setups. And then put it in a case and everything, and hopefully then it should be on your network. Now, I know a lot of people have issues where they flash it and it still doesn't boot. And the main thing I can tell you is that make sure you're not using like absolute bottom of the barrel low tier SD cards. Go with a good class 10 or higher card. I use class 10 32 gig ones at a bare minimum for our kits, and we only buy cards from name brands like SanDisk, Patriot, Verbatim, I think that's how you say their name, Kingston, that kind of stuff. Don't be buying like, random Chinese brands that no one's heard of, from Amazon or eBay, or using the card that came with your printer. Go buy a quality SD card, 32 gigs or larger. You really don't need that much space for Octoprint, to be completely honest. A 32 gig is overkill. You can go higher if you want to, but I'm just telling you from personal experience, it's not needed. So you definitely want to use a higher quality SD card. Use a good quality SD reader to write that image and let it fully finish writing the image. And that's one of the few times I will actually use, on Windows anyways, the safely remove device when I'm done writing it, because I don't want to corrupt that card. Now, one thing to note when you guys are dealing with an Octoprint image card, it has multiple partitions on it. So meaning if you want to re-image that card, you should clear out all the existing partitions with a partition tool. Like I use DiskPart on Windows. There's a million different ways to do it, but that's what I use. You want to wipe out all the partitions and go back to having one partition. So when you write the image to the card, it then rewrites the partition structure. Because what I found is some imaging tools like Win32 Disk Imager, they don't always clear out the existing partition information, so the card doesn't get written correctly. So, but yeah, it's not a too complicated process. I think the main reason people have issues is they use low quality SD cards. They'll take whatever one random one they have laying around. It could be slow. It could just be a faulty card, and they'll use that. Another thing is, do not use a phone charger to power your Pi. You do not use phone chargers to power Raspberry Pis, whether it's the 4 or the 3. You have to use a power supply. And the reason is because a power supply and a phone charger act differently. You can use a power supply to charge a phone, but a phone charger is a different animal because it's doing, usually they do communication between the phone to throttle down their output as the phone gets to full charge. So what happens is the Pi gets not enough power to run it, and then you start throwing errors and you start getting issues with it. So make sure you're using a good quality 5 volt, 3 amp power supply when you're using your Pi kits. We do sell the power supplies that we use in our kits separately on our store, and they're like $10. And those are true 5 volt, 3 amp output power supplies. So yeah, let's see here. Victor is asking, how can I tell if a stepper motor is 12 or 24 volt? Stepper motors are weird. They have voltage ratings, but because of how the stepper drivers drive them, they're not really... There are limits, but there's not in the same breath. Meaning, like, to give you an example, I have a stepper motor on my blinds rated that the rating is 5 volts, except I'm running it at 9. The thing is, I'm not running it full duty cycle, so it's not overheating it. The main thing is, if you have like most NEMA 17s, you can run them on the voltage that your printer's on, and it'd be 12 or 24 volts. That's what determines it. They're kind of complicated, and it's more than I can go into right now. But the thing is, a NEMA 17 is usually a NEMA 17, unless you're dealing with some specialty motors, and NEMA 17s are what most 3D printers use for their X, Y, Z, and E. So the answer is basically, if you're looking for a replacement motor, any NEMA 17, that's the right size. Usually the longer motors have more torque, the smaller motors have less, are going to work for you. So I do want to put a little line in here because we are at 250, and by the time I get through most of the chat here, it's going to be time to wrap this up because we do keep these at an hour. So let's see if there's any other questions here. Let's see. AP says, I'll give a free promo for TH3 Tech Support. It's legit. I've gotten great responses. Well, that's good to know. And if you guys don't get legitimately great responses, please let us know. The system does send a feedback form. So if something wasn't handled correctly, we do check those a couple times a week just to make sure that things are being handled correctly. Most of the negatively rated tickets are from people that aren't even customers that are pissed off because we won't help them with their Big Tree Tech boards. It's usually the thing is I have a Big Tree Tech board and I downloaded your firmware and you have to help me for free. Yeah, no, we don't. The support system is for customers. So, and like pre-sale stuff. So our support will not, I'm not going to pay people to do Big Tree Tech's tech support. You can contact Big Tree Tech for support on their product. Let me see here. I'm looking here for any other questions here or comments. Nemo says, I'm having a friend get an Ender 3 V2. What features are missing when using the stock LCD versus the older LCD on UFW2? The main thing is baby stepping. You don't have baby stepping available on the Ender 3 V2, whether you have an ABL probe or not. Baby stepping is available on our firmware, whether you have an auto bed leveling kit installed, whether that's our Easy ABL or a BL Touch or not. And what baby stepping is a live adjustment of your first layer, which is very helpful. So let's say you start a print and you're too high or too low. Instead of having to stop the print or mess with your bed wheels, you can just press the LCD button twice, and then it brings up a menu to rotate the knob, and it'll raise the nozzle higher or lower. You don't have that on the stock Ender 3 V2 LCD. As far as I know, the Marlin team and a couple other people have been working on kind of hacking that screen to display other things than the stock ones. But it's not as straightforward as the other LCDs that we deal with, like the 12864s. Now, there is an article in our Help Center about replacing the LCD with a standard 12864 LCD, and that's a very cheap upgrade to do, and I call it an upgrade because you're getting more features out of it. You are going from a fancy-looking color screen with a knob that has less features to a, just blue or white text on blue background screen with a knob, but you get more options. In the firmware, you get more control over your machine. In my opinion too, I feel like it's easier to navigate. I'm dealing with the touchscreen on the Duets, and they're nice. I do like, my favorite thing is like you can bring up a console and enter G code in, but it's very laggy is the right word. Like baby stepping, I have to like tap it and it doesn't respond all the time. I just really like the rotary knobs with the 12864s. They work really, really well with Marlin, and they're quite fast. Once you get used to how they operate, they're quite fast to do adjustments because you rotate that knob very quick. So, let's see here. Let's see what else. Okay, Alan's talking about the full coverage plate. He said he has a custom design printer that's a cross between a Railcore and SK Go. It gives me 335 by 318 print area using the the RC bed from 7.3 Maker. Okay, got it. No, that makes sense. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not going to touch on that. We're done talking about Vorons. If you guys want to talk about Vorons, hit up the TH3D Discord. There's a bunch of guys that have those in progress. They've been working on them for a couple of months. So, 3D printing and painting, Jerry is asking, looking for some good timing belt idler pulleys for my Hypercube. The ones I have are crap, the bearing sleeve going out. The Daedalus uses Gates brand pulleys and idlers. And those are really good quality. So look up Gates. They're the ones that make the Gates belt, which they also use Gates belt on these. You're going to pay about $2 to $3 per idler and pulley, but they're very high quality. So make sure that you do that. Let me see here. 3D Wildcat does make a good point talking about the 50-watt cartridges. You do want to do a PID tune on your machine after you change out your heater cartridge, because you're going to have a different value because that heater cartridge is going to heat up quicker. Anytime you change something on your hot end, like the cooling fan, the sock, your nozzle even, it doesn't hurt to do a PID tune just so you get everything into sync with the new upgrades. Doesn't mean it's not going to work if you don't do a PID tune, but what you might have is it overshooting and undershooting if you're using the old PID values. So let's see here. CF is asking, would the Easy Out be a straight swap for the Creality runout sensor? The Creality one is very restrictive on the filament, CR10V3. Unfortunately not. Their wiring is different from ours, and if you just swap it out, not only will the wiring cause a short because their voltage and signal pins are, I think it's a voltage and signal pins, are reversed from ours, you'll cause a short. And the logic of their sensors are opposite of ours. So I can't remember off the top of my head which is, if ours is low or high in terms of the trigger, and theirs is high or low, but it's inverted. So let's say, I'm pretty sure the Creality's is a low trigger, and ours is a high. So if you did that, let's say you switch the wiring so the wiring's fixed, but you just put it on there, the signal itself is probably going to be backwards. So when there's filament present, it's going to think it's out, and when it's out, it's going to think filament is present. So I thought about adding an option into the what's the word I'm looking for? Into the firmware for our filament sensor and some of the machines that come with the Creality ones, because I do know some people have been having issues with theirs. And I love our sensors. They're simple, they're affordable, and they just work. Got to keep it simple sometimes. John Brown is asking, what's the benefit of using Octoprint over Astroprint or 3D Printer OS? Well, the first thing is Astroprint. That's kind of like you're hooked into their cloud, which I don't like. I don't like other companies having access to my system, and you're kind of then dependent on their systems. I like that Octoprint is 100% local. It's on my hardware. It's under my control. I tried out Astroprint over a year ago. I wasn't impressed with it. I think Octoprint's the way to go for printer control. Let's see here. I did see one quick question. I'm going to comb through because we are coming up on the cutoff there. We're at 2:58, so I got a couple minutes here. I'm going to see if there's any other quick questions that can be quickly answered here. Let's see here. I'm trying to find. I saw there was one that could be quickly answered. Howie Baird. Yeah, this is the one. Howie Baird says, "Can you please add configuration for the Anycubic Mega Zero 2? I can only find one for one." You're not looking hard enough, because the Mega Zero 2 is supported in Unified 2.0. It's not supported in Unified 1 because we're not doing updates anymore to Unified 1. If you go to uf2.th3dstudio.com, that will take you right to the Unified 2 download links. And I'll show you, and there is firmware for the V1 and the V2 on our website. So if you go to uf2.th3dstudio.com, it'll take you here, which is our listing on our help center. You can see right here, Mega Zero V1/V2 firmware, and you can download it right here. There's installation directions on how to compile it and that kind of stuff. So, and even how to select your COM port as well, in case you have to manually select your COM port. So, yeah, just check it out. It's the Unified 2. We do still have Unified 1 on our help center here. And this does support the Mega Zero, but this is the V1. Basically, my recommendation is, if you guys have a 3D printer and you're looking to use our firmware, go to our downloads here and see if your printer is listed here in the Unified 2 list. If it is listed with the board that corresponds with it, we do have the printer name followed by the board, then use Unified 2. If it's not supported in Unified 2, then check Unified 1. But Unified 1 will not be receiving any further updates because that is based on Marlin 1.1.91. And Unified 2 is the latest one that is using Marlin 2.072. So, yeah, we are at 3 o'clock now, so I will be wrapping this up. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to shut the form off here, so we will not be accepting any more responses because we are only accepting responses during the stream. So look forward to Friday evening. I'll make it an evening stream where we'll be doing a drawing for the winner of the Ender 3 V2. I wish you guys all the best of luck. Hope you guys learned something. I appreciate everybody that stopped by, and as always, happy printing.